Sponsored by Model Makers Workshop. Need parts for your next model project? Model Makers Workshop has you covered with the best aftermarket accessories around. Fueling obsession, one detail at a time. Hello, this is Ken, and thank you for tuning in to the Model Building and Retirement channel. So in this episode, this is going to be my first update on my 2026 USACC entry for the Revell 69 Camara. And if you remember a couple weeks ago when I announced my entry into the group build, I was holding up this box and I was saying, you know, it was going to look sort of like the cover, blue with white stripes. And I got to thinking about it. You know, I mean, most of my builds, if you watch my channel, most of my builds are themed around old muscle cars, the way they look from the factory, or on day two anyways. But knowing I'm up against a lot of content creators that have some extreme talent, I knew I had to step up my game. So I was really in a dilemma, like which way I was going to go with this. But then some happy accidents came along the way. So first of all, I have my new sponsorship with Model Makers Workshop, who makes 3D resin parts. And, you know, by the way, you know, there's a product code I'll have above, 10% off of anything if you purchase through my link there. But so I knew I was going to do some cool stuff here. Like I'm picturing like a 572 big crate engine in here for a Chevy engine. Picturing oversized wheels, you know, maybe 17, 18, 19-inch rims. Not too crazy, but sort of resto-mod look. So I was kind of starting to envision that. But then I met Mike at MCW Paint last week when I was at the Plastic Undercover Model Show in Copley, Ohio. And I was talking to him, and he actually gave me some color shift paint to try out, a gold-red color shift. And, you know, I would have never picked that color because I'm usually going back and picking a factory color for whatever year I had. And I probably would have done that with the Camaro too. But, you know, he gave me this, he said, try it out. So for a couple days, I'm thinking, well, what am I going to put that on? And then it all just came to me, you know, it's a happy accident, but that would be a crazy color to put on this. So this is going to be a resto mod build. So it's going to be a recreation with today's technology. So it's going to have, you know, the new engine transmission combo, a lot of detail under the hood, but this crazy custom paint job, which is going to be a full tutorial in this video. So in this video, I do the unboxing and the paint job all the way to the end of the paint job. And let's go take a look here. Oh, by the way, one more shout out too. When I was at the show the other day, I did a shout out because David Parsley gave me his card. So it's David Parsley's Custom Scale Emergency Models. Well, I mentioned that, but I'm holding the card from this distance and you can't see it. So I'm going to have that up on the screen above me here so you can see it better. But once again, David sent me his card. David, I sent you mine as well. Good luck with your channel. I checked it out, man. I mean, he's into some pretty cool emergency vehicles. Just finished a fire truck that's pretty realistic and crazy looking. So anyways, enjoy the video. This is part one. All right, so it's time to start the build for the 2025 USACC group build on the 69 Revell Camaro Z28 RS. So let's do the traditional unboxing. We got our instructions. Got decal sheet. You got your choice between black or white stripes. And a few racing decals and license plates. Got our glass, gonna keep that in the bag. It's got separately applied glass headlights and marker lights or dome lights or something there, so that looks good. I like that. Chrome tree, pretty basic. Looks like rally wheels and the hidden headlight grille there, but you could detail that out really nice. Interior tub. All right, then we got our body, which I already marked a few of the panel lines or whatnot, so looks pretty good, not too bad. Then we got a red tree with tail lights on it. Then we got a hood scoop with a cowl-inducted hood, or a hood with a cowl-inducted hood scoop, your door panels, so you can detail those out pretty nice. Firewall. some suspension parts. More suspension, you got your seats and dashboard. Chassis, pretty detailed, nice. Bucket seats, suspension parts, inner wheels, exhaust, rear spoiler, grille. So you have the option there, or I don't know if that insets on the other grille or not. I think that's an optional grille. Yeah, because I've got the hidden headlights. Okay, then you got your engine, which I'm waiting for my supply here, but I'm hoping, and tires. And I'm hoping to get my 3D printed stuff because I want to do a street rod out of this. So I'd like to put a big, like the 572 big block in there or something like that. So we're going to start the build even with an unknown engine and wheel combination. We'll figure that out along the way. Paint-wise, I happen to be at the Plastic Undercover Model Show in Copley, Ohio, and Mike at MCW Paints happened to be there. And I love their paints. Had a little discussion with him that I prefer his enamels over his lacquers, but he gave me a little coaching on the lacquers and even gave me a little something to test out here. So I've got a gloss black lacquer. That's going to be my base coat after primer, of course. And then this is my first time doing this, but this is a red gold color shift gloss enamel that must be sprayed over gloss black. So looks like it's going to be pretty color there. So that's going to be my first time spraying that. We'll see how that goes. Last time I tried to do a candy lacquer on my food truck, I ended up going with an enamel because it just wasn't working out for me. But I got a little bit of coaching from Mike, and I'm going to give that a whirl. So it should come out very pretty. All right, so I'm going to get this all prepped, sanded down and washed and into primer, so that I can get the pink coat on there tomorrow. So we'll be back. Okay, so I did my initial sanding with 200 grit dry paper and then 400 grit wet paper just to get all my hard mold lines and sharp edges off. And I'm going to finish with 3000s Trizac, but before I do that, I'm going to rescribe all my panel lines. So this is my little panel line scriber here. This comes with several different attachments. This is a 0.2 millimeter, if I'm not mistaken. It's the smallest one I got. It fits real nice into the door gaps. And you got some wider ones here too, which I've never even found a use for yet. And it comes with a little Allen wrench and a set screw to change your blades. And this is on bought from Amazon, and I have a link in my description with this and all the other stuff that I buy for my kits. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just rescribe all my panel lines just to make sure they're nice and crisp, because, you know, when I do my paints, you know, multiple layers, primer, base coat, top coat, it starts to just high definition. So rather than taking any chance of hiding anything good, I just kind of go by and rescribe. You just have to be careful not to get outside the line, because then you're going to have to sand that out. But I just go 3, 4, or 5 times around each panel line, and you see just a little bit of plastic coming off with each pass. That just ensures that when you, when you paint and do all your paint work, that you maintain this line, and then when you go back at the end to I'll put some panel liner in there, it looks pretty good. I'll speed that up. Okay, so I finished scribing with my scriber tools, and then I'm just going to go over it with some Trizact cloth paper, 3000 grit, and just lightly sand everywhere. And then I'm going to wash it with Dawn dish soap. This just scuffs up the paint to where your primer is going to stick real well and removes any minor imperfections. Also, if you slipped with your blade around your window trim, you know, going over this a little bit smooths that out, because sometimes when you're trying to scribe, your scriber goes off course. Okay, so everything has been sanded and scribed and washed and ready for paint, a primer that is. So I'm going to be using a Mr. Surfacer 1000 Gray primer. Now this is a lacquer-based primer, and I am painting lacquer black and lacquer color shift paint, and then I'll be topping off with a 2K clear and enamel on the top. Now it's okay to put enamel over lacquer, but it's not okay to put lacquer over enamel. So you want to make sure you're going to use a base that is compatible with the paint you're going to use. And since I am spraying lacquer over this, this is lacquer base. So just an important thing to share with you. Very nice day outside, October, and the weather, it's one of the last few nice days yet to come. They're getting numbered. So we're going to go outside and I'll spray this primer. All right, so the Mr. Surfacer primer went on as well as always, and no flaws, no reason to sand at all. It's nice and smooth. In fact, talking to Mike over at MCW Paints, he actually says that you should not be sanding your primer unless you absolutely have to. So it all looks real good. I'm ready to go to my base coat, and that is going to be number 2000 Black Gloss Lacquer from MCW Finishes. And that is because the red gold color shift lacquer paint that I'm going to be using says it must be sprayed over black. so we're going to get the base coat on there. Now my problem is I love enamels. It's my go-to paint. Lacquers, it sprays through the gun like water, and I usually have trouble getting the paint job done before I run out. So Mike had given me these 2 bottles to test out, just as a courtesy, as we were talking at the show the other day. So I'm going to just be very careful and go sparingly. So I'm only going to be spraying the body, the back valance, and the hood with these colors. And I'll be using, you know, black from either Tamiya or black enamels for the under the hood areas. So this is ready to use lacquer. About $7.50 a bottle from mcwfinishes.com, I believe it is. And you can also get their paints at Hobby Nut Models. I'm not sponsored by either. In fact, I begged Mike at MCW to be my sponsor, but, you know, he just doesn't do that. So, but he gave me these 2 colors here to try out. So I thank you very much, Mike. All right, so you got to stir this up really good. Now, Mike does a good job. He puts a ball bearing in every bottle, which really helps stir it up. So make sure you mix it up really good. And I'm going to shake this up, and I'm going to dust the car down with my Tamiya anti-static brush, which is also in my description, a link to where I purchased that, and I'll meet you at the booth. All right, so we're at the booth, and I am spraying with 20 psi and a 0.35 millimeter needle and nozzle combination. And I'm going to do a whole series of very light coats here. It may look like it's going on wet with the light reflection, but much different than the enamels that I normally spray. So this is a whole series of medium light coats. The first coat is really a light dusting, just to get color started and in all the nooks and crannies. And I started out by spraying all the little bottom edges from the absolute bottom, but I cut that out because I get complaints about people seeing my wrist. Well, you know, I can't help it. When you're painting, you got to hold the model and the airbrush and camera all in this little tight booth. Oops, there's my wrist. Anyways, you know, I just did a light coat around all the edges and the door jambs, and then I started with a whole series of light coats. I lost track of how many. I'll try to keep track during the video here, but I'm going to go ahead and speed this up. Okay, so when I got to the final two coats or so, then I started laying on medium to wet. And I allowed about 5 minutes between the wetter coats to let that flash off a little bit. Even though, you know, on the video it looks constant. But on the drier misting coats up front, you know, I just went one after the other, you know, because it goes on so dry. And I really didn't keep track of the number of coats that I put on there. The bottom line is you're looking at it in the light and you're just making sure that it's uniform and dark, you know, with black especially. You know, got it out. I got it out in some good light and looked at it. And if I saw light spots, I just went over it again and again until it was nice and uniform and dark. All right, so it's been a couple hours since I shot the clear black lacquer onto the body, and it all looks pretty good, and I don't have any bumps, lumps, or dust knobs or anything like that. So all I need to do is brush that with my anti-static brush real good, make sure I don't have any new dust on there, and then I can spray the color shifting red and gold lacquer over on top of this. That's gonna be pretty. I'm looking forward to that. So I'm just gonna stir that up real good, and we will meet you at the booth. So back at the booth already. Now that's one of the advantages with the lacquer paint is it dries extremely fast. You know, almost within minutes, it's almost dry to the touch. Generally between colors, I'm waiting about an hour minimum. A little bit longer if I felt I sprayed it a little bit heavy. But once again, I'm using a 20 psi pressure, 0.35 millimeter needle nozzle combination, and I'm doing the same exact thing. I'm starting out really light and just establishing color on the model. Also make sure that you don't have any reactions with the previous solvents and previous paint cover. Once I get the color established with several light coats, I'll go increasingly wetter with my coats. And once I start with the wet coats, I will stop about 5 minutes minimum between coats to allow that paint to flash a little bit. Doesn't take too long, but you don't want to just keep hosing it on without some sort of setup and evaporation, or it's just not gonna lay out right for you. All right, so once again, I'm going to go to fast forward here. One thing I'd like to note too is I did install the hood for the color shift paint, because if you paint that separately, it's very likely that it's going to have a different appearance than the rest of the car, even though you're following the same amount of coats. It's just better to have it on the car, so I did lay it into place, and it's going to cover much better that way. Okay, so the last couple coats went on a little bit wetter, so I did wait a good 5 minutes between coats. And now I'm spraying it much more like I do my enamels. I'm watching that reflection, and I'm making sure that I'm wet between strokes. And then finally, as you'll see here, just like on my metallics, I occasionally will go a cross pattern. So this time I'm going across the hood in the opposing direction in the roof. And that is just to make sure you don't get what they call zebra stripes, because every time you're doing that pattern of back and forth, it's possible that you're laying on the paint a little bit heavy in rows and light in between the rows if you're not overlapping correctly. Okay, so it's been a couple hours since I did the color shift paint, so I lightly wet sanded that with Trizact, went with 5/1000ths and finished with 8/1000ths. And I'm going to have to wash it still, but looking pretty good. I think it's going to look nice with the clear on it. So I'm debating about the decals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and install the black decals, and I'm on the fence about it. I don't even think I really want them. So they're easy enough to remove. So I'm going to try them on there, see if I like them. And if I do, I'll keep them and clear over. And if I don't like them, I'll pull them off. So I'm going to get those installed, and we'll be back. All right, so I got the black stripes installed on the car. Last night, I wasn't sure if I was in love with it, but when I woke up this morning, I liked it. And I got to tell you, these are really nice decals. You don't always come across them with a model kit, but, you know, some of the decals I've been dealing with lately from AMT, you know, disintegrating on me and had all kinds of problems, but these conformed really well, like even over that cowl hood there, you know. I used a little bit of the microsol, but I probably didn't really have to. I mean, these laid down really, really, really nice. Okay, so it grew on me, and I do decide I like the black. In fact, you know, I'm a chrome guy because, you know, back in the 70s, 60s, everything was chrome. But I think this car is crying out for black. So it's going to have black wheels, black trim around the windows. I just think it's the kind of car that needs that. So I'm going to have to come up with wheels. My supply hasn't arrived yet from Canada, but I'm going to the Detroit Auto Show Saturday, so I'll probably pick up something. So next I'm going to get some black around the windows there, clean it up really good, and go to clear coat. Okay, so I used a black marker and trimmed out all the window trim in black, including the door handles and the emblems. So I guess I'm going to go blacked out. You know, the wheels are going to be black too. I got to go find them. I think in Detroit I'll pick up some, because I don't have any like 19-inch wheels. I'm thinking like 19-inch wheels would look good. 17s maybe, but black wheels. All right, so I am going to shoot 2 coats of clear over this. So I'm going to use my MCW enamel clear, and that's a 2K clear. So it's 1017E is the clear, and it must be used with 1017EH clear hardener. And the way you mix this is you use Mr. Color Leveling Thinner, or when I was at the show the other day, I bought MCW's version of the same thing. That's supposed to be just as good as the leveling thinner. So anyways, the way you mix it is 2 parts clear to 1 part hardener and 1 part leveling thinner. And I know this is pretty darn forgiving, so you can dilute this down a little bit and go with more thinner, and you'll get smoother paint. You know, I'll be shooting with a .35 needle nozzle combination, about 20 psi pressure. But I have found that you can lay that paint on almost like glass if you thin it down more. The only problem is it's not as thick, so if you need to sand out stuff in your paint, you may not have enough clear on there. So trick is to be dust free. So I'm going to mix that up and use my anti-static brush. And I washed the model down real good because I did some wet sanding and whatnot. And also from the applying the decals, it left some water marks and whatnot. So I washed and dried that. And I'll meet you at the booth. Here we are once again at the booth. Again, 20 psi pressure is what I use, 0.35 millimeter needle and nozzle combination. And I'm just going to put on 2 medium to wet coats, favoring the wet side. And I'll go ahead and take it to fast forward. So as you can see on the second coat, I really started to hose that paint on there, and that it does a really nice job of laying down. The problem is after I finished my second coat, I still had enough for a third coat. And I tell you folks, you really should stick to the plan there, because I just couldn't resist it. I thought, hey, I'm just gonna bury those stripes into the clear. So I shot a whole third coat on there, and it looks awesome, but it buries a little bit of detail. I really wish I would have refrained from doing so, because I would have been better off doing 2 coats, sanding it down, and then doing another 1 or 2 light coats in the end. No harm, no foul. All I gotta say is wow. Like, wow. That gloss looks incredible. That really brought that color alive. Yep, I definitely like the black and the red gold combo. This thing's gonna pop. So now I think I'm gonna have to black out the bumpers and the chrome on the front and back. They would have looked even good body color, but I don't have enough of that paint left, so I think I'll go black on the bumpers. But that's amazing. Okay, so that completes my progress update for my USACC group build. I hope you enjoyed watching that paint job go on there. And you know, stay tuned, because I'll continue building here. I'm just waiting for my resin parts to arrive. A couple things too. I do have a clothing line up, so check out my store. It's under my main page on YouTube. Right below, you'll see a store. Hit that button, and I have logos. 2 of them. I just came up with a new logo and added it on there too. So check it out. You know, you got hats and t-shirts and hoodies and coffee mugs and bags and, you know, all kinds of different stuff. So check that out, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.